coming to you live for the Built Full of Tough studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan, simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Thursday morning. A very entertaining regular season baseball game between the Yankees and the Orioles. Last night didn't work out for the Yankees, but that was fun. It was back and forth. If you're into the whole revenge storyline, you got that with the Aaron Judge getting hit in the hand as at least one Yankee reliever, I believe, did it on purpose last night and hitting Gunnar Henderson, which didn't really work out for the Yankees in the long run. The Grimace Mets finally lose a baseball game, but still fight in this game. Mania was okay, but the Grimace thing, at least for now, is on hold. Al said this morning he still believes in the gay Mets till the end of June because the gay Mets weren't undefeated. It was the Grimace Mets that were undefeated. So we got a few more games for the gay Mets. And I know that CeeLo and Boomer are going to, at some point, hijack the program and spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about Barclay Goodrow. So I'm thinking probably the 6:30 update. Probably because they're not going to be able to wait. Hey, good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, Gio. Yeah, a couple great games last night, actually, and it was nice to see Gerrit Cole back on the mound if you're a Yankees fan, and he went through it. He went fine. He's on a pitch count. He'll be okay. Mariano Rivera is not walking through that door anytime soon, and the Yankees have a catching problem.
Yes.
So, and it's a defensive catching problem, and it's an arm problem, and I don't know what to tell you.
It's a stone worst in Major League Baseball statistically, Trevino.
The guy that they traded to the Mets is the guy that they should have playing catcher for them. What's his Norins? What the hell's his name?
Yes.
Whatever it is. Whatever it is. You know, the guy just got here, but David Stern stole him from the Yankees.
Did, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, those games are good last night, and it's unfortunate the Mets couldn't come back to win the game. But at the end of the day, they're fighting, they're hitting, and they're doing well. And I was telling Fleegs, who is a resident New York Met expert as far as I am concerned.
Yes.
Loves everything about the Mets, knows everything about the Mets and Taylor Swift, by the way. Mm-hmm. So when I need Taylor Swift answers, I ask Fliegelman. When I need some Met answers, I talk shop with him. We get into it a little bit. I am totally all in, and I think every Met fan is all in. So I'm not saying anything that every other Met fan probably doesn't feel or feels just like I do. That Francisco Alvarez is the Energizer Bunny for this team. Whether he's hitting or he's not, his defense is great. He is everything that you want in a catcher. And, you know, when he was missing, the life of the team was missing. And I think when he came back, even though there are guys like Brandon Nimmo and, you know, you would like to think Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor that, yeah, professional players and they play well, and you would think that they would be the energy on the team. But the energy really comes from the catcher. And he's going to be a great one if he's on his path to greatness. And I just think that missing him was one of the biggest holes that the Mets could have had this year to start the year the way it happened.
Yes, and it's great to have him back. And we're talking catchers this morning. One very positive, one very negative with Trevino. I think there's been something like 66 catchers that have played a Major League Baseball game this year, and he is the worst at throwing out runners. And you see these teams, you said it before, blueprint spot that the Red Sox showed you over the weekend, and the Orioles continued it again last night. And the biggest one is you get the revenge or the retaliation, rather, as Oscar Gonzalez hits Gunnar Henderson. And to me, that was intentional. At that point in the game, it's just silly. These things are silly to me. There are times where I really feel like if your team's getting beat up and you're getting smacked around, it was a couple years ago with the Mets where everybody was hitting them. There was no retaliation. It was almost like they were just getting pushed around. It's like, okay, you gotta stand up for yourself. I didn't feel like this was one of these times. We've seen guys getting hit all over the league, great players getting hit like Mookie Betts, because you want to pitch these guys up and in. But so they decide to retaliate, the Yankees or Gonzalez or whatever.
Down 4-1. What are you doing? You don't do it then.
Well, you don't really.
You don't even need to do it.
You don't really need. So Henderson, of course, he gets on, steals a base, comes around to score, and you lose by one. You know, and it's to me, it's like, come on. Was that, how necessary was that in the seventh inning?
If you're going to hit the guy, don't hit him where he has a pad. I mean, Jesus, I understand, those guys I caught Sal and BT yesterday. They were screaming about throwing purpose pitches and everything. All right, great. It's 4-1. You throw a purpose pitch now?
Yeah, silly.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So you got to have a little bit of awareness. If, in fact, that's exactly what that pitch was, I guess you believe. I'm not so sure that pitch just didn't get away from him. Because in that situation, it doesn't make any sense. I know who you're throwing at is at what is perceived to be one of their best players, which is exactly what happened to Aaron Judge. It also happened to Stanton, by the way. But I have to say, watching Stanton hit the ball last night.
Yeah.
Holy
I mean, he's
back. That dude is back, man.
He's back for now. He is.
For now. Okay.
He is, man. I'm telling you, as I said before with him, he has a very long history of a New York Yankee at this point now where he's always hurt and he's pulling muscles.
I feel like you can't trust him.
We can't all of a sudden, because he looks great for April, May, and half of June, all of a sudden think like that didn't exist.
But
I mean, this is such a recency bias thing. It's crazy to me. Get through a season.
You, of all people, should appreciate what he has gone through.
Well,
you have gone through it. You have gone through a metamorphosis of your body.
Oh, my
You have changed your body type. You used to be fat Gio.
Yeah.
And now you're slim, golf playing, good looking.
Yeah.
Suave Gio.
And this has nothing to do with me, man. It really does not.
Wait,
We're not going to make this about me.
We're not
about Giancarlo Stanton.
It is, but I'm just telling
you. On my face.
You guys have a lot in common. That's what I'm talking about.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
No.
Yes, you do. He came back this year slimmer, trimmer. He's stretching. He's doing all these different things to keep him from having oblique injuries and everything else.
Okay.
And
you're telling me he wasn't doing that last year?
No. He made it a point this year to tell us that this is what happened.
Pretty sure he did that last year too.
No.
Yeah,
Pretty
sure.
No. It was this off season, and I would just think, as somebody who went through a major transformation, kind of like you did, that you, instead of being so, I guess, not sure as to whether or not you should support his new body type, I think you should.
I'm not supporting. So I'm not against his new body type. I'm a trends guy. I'm a trends guy. That's what it is. There's been a trend here.
Yeah, but it's his new body. Like you had.
Okay.
Remember when you were fat, Gio?
I'm telling you,
you'd pull a hamstring.
I'll still pull a hamstring right now if I started sprinting. It has nothing to do with it.
No,
if I sprinted right now, got up and sprinted down the newsroom, I would pull a hamstring.
Dude,
it's a trend.
All right.
It's a trend. And it's great so far that he has been healthy. But it's just funny how we just wipe away the rest of his history as a Yankee because in a couple of months
what about his history as a Marlin? Do we forget that?
Well, that's a long time ago now.
Yeah, but it's still part of his history.
Yeah, but not here and right not now recently.
Well, in the playoffs, he was pretty damn good. He showed up in the playoffs.
Sure, but they didn't make the playoffs last year, and there was the one playoff series that he was very, very good in. But, I mean, for the most part, he's missed a ton of games. We've talked about his contract being an albatross for the New York Yankees.
Right now, it's not.
And he's been good so far. It's just that you can't count on him doing this the rest of the year.
You know what sucks?
Just ride it as long as you can ride it.
You want to know what really sucks?
What sucks?
I'll tell you what sucks. The Dodgers come to town. Juan Soto misses all 3 games. Mm-hmm. That sucked. And then all of a sudden he shows up the next game and he's playing.
Yeah.
This sucks that Aaron Judge didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, and he clearly was not available at all because there was a couple of situations where he could have pinch hit and just you didn't see him.
It's just the Yankees. He wanted to talk his way into the game, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just Yankees being like, hey, we got 162 games. Just take it easy.
Chernoff working for the Yankees?
Maybe, I don't know. Somebody's over there like
we got 162.
The guy wanted to play, and they wouldn't let him play.
Well, had some swelling, and they wanted to be careful. And you can't win in these situations.
And we all have swelling. Everybody has swelling. The only person that doesn't have swelling is Al.
He probably has some swelling.
He has no swelling whatsoever.
He might have some inflammation.
He has no inflammation. I've never seen anything like it. The guy is inflammation-less.
Yeah. But, yeah, I understand. I understand that we want to see him last night. It didn't happen. I do have a day game today. Maybe they were thinking he's going to got to have one of the two. Let's make it today. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you a question. I use a word around here, and I have used the word around here for, what am I in here, 18 or 19 years, Al? How long has it been?
It's not been 18 years.
How long has it been?
This is, I believe, the 18th year, maybe?
This is the 18th.
All right, yeah.
Or in the 18th.
We're in the 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know.
Has
we're in
it
the 18th.
been 18?
Correct.
Yeah.
We're in the 18th
Are we
year.
in the 18th year?
2007.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We're in the 18th.
In the 18th year.
Okay.
So, all
Gotcha.
right. So, but for 17 years and 6 goddamn months,
Yeah.
I have been saying one word to describe the job of a general manager.
Oh, don't do it yet.
Wait a minute.
Don't do it now, please.
I want to make a point.
No.
No.
Don't do it now.
This goes for all
don't
sports.
Do it now.
This goes for all sports.
For the love of God. 10 minutes?
This goes for all
10
sports.
minutes? You couldn't get through 15 minutes without
Dukes,
getting the
come over
Barkley
here.
Goodrow?
No, Al Dukes,
You
come here.
couldn't do 15
Wait a minute,
minutes?
hold on. Have I been
Oh,
using?
God.
Oh God.
For
Amazon,
15
what
minutes.
is this?
It's the only time. I don't love
Al.
talking baseball either. I don't love talking baseball all the time in regular season.
Al,
but
what's the word that I use in regards to general managers and have been using for 18 years? Say it right here, Al.
Ruthless?
Ruthless.
That's right.
That's exactly right. Sometimes you got to do things that you really don't want to do that may hurt somebody's feelings. Now,
like bring up the Rangers in the first segment of the show. After we spent months and months and months talking about it, their first off-season move, we can't even get.
No. It's just in general what general managers have to do. Like Brian Cashman's going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
David Stearns is going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
I'm talking about baseball, but I'm giving them an example of how you have to, unfortunately, be ruthless sometimes with players that you really like, you admire, you respect. But unfortunately, things don't work out, and you have to move on, and you have to move pieces around. So that brings me to Chris Drury. So anyway, he decides to put Barkley Goodrow on waivers. And Barkley Goodrow is a very popular player within the Rangers locker room. He was a good leader, was not great during the regular season, but did a lot of little things that a lot of people don't like and don't see, or not that they don't like, but that they do like, but other people don't see it unless you really watch the games really closely about all the little things he does. He puts him on waivers because he has a no-trade clause to 15 different teams in the NHL. One of those teams happens to be the San Jose Sharks, who weirdly drafted him when he came out in the draft. So the $3.6 million goes to the Sharks. They pick him up. And the thing about it is that, just because you have a no-trade clause doesn't mean a team can't move you within the system. And that's exactly what Chris Drury did. So David Stearns and Brian Cashman are going to have some very interesting decisions to make here. Brian Cashman at the catcher spot, especially. I know that I'm sure they really like Jose Trevino. I'm sure that they appreciate him as a player, as a person, as a human being. But, you can't continue to have this, especially when the Boston Red Sox laid out the blueprint to beat your team.
Yeah, and the pitching, obviously the pitchers love Trevino. There's no surprise that, Gerrit Cole comes back and Trevino's there, and he has a great first start back. They've worked together pretty well. So, I mean, I agree that this is an issue that's not going away, and it's almost turned into one of these mental situations too for him, where he's better than where he's been. He's just been put under pressure. He knows everybody's talking about it. He knows the other teams are talking about it and trying to take advantage of him. So this has got to figure itself out quick, because in tight games against good teams, when you have situations where the catcher's throwing the ball into left field.
Well, you gave up 9 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Now, what is the collateral damage to a situation like this? Because it's not all Trevino. That throw into left field last night was bad. We know that. If that happened and he didn't give up 9 stolen bases in Boston, then we wouldn't even be talking about it. It would just be a bad throw, a bad play, and everybody would buy into him. But we also said coming out of that Boston series, the pitchers got to do their job too. And because of the way the rules are set up, certain teams are figuring out or have figured out how to use those rules to their benefit and take off and steal bases. And the stolen base is back, and it's a thing again, especially against the Yankees.
Yeah, it is.
So
the stolen base is back.
So my point is, when I talk about Chris Drury being ruthless and doing something that he had to do in order to free up some cap space and shut up. And we're talking about all of this. Now, Brian Cashman's got himself a situation. He got a situation. And how are you going to handle that situation? Yeah, no, he doesn't. Yeah. No, he doesn't. He does not.
I don't necessarily see the apples to apples situation with what's going on with the Rangers and the cap in the offseason after they saw how the season panned out and knew that they had
made it
to do certain things.
Eastern Conference Final.
They did, but now you're talking about middle of a season issue, teams doing well. It's a completely different set of circumstances between what two general managers are doing, one in the offseason,
one's going to have to one's going to have to come up with something here now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the David Stearns thing is going to be more interesting because he came here to turn over this roster and to completely rebuild a franchise that was in the toilet once again.
You want to talk about Ruthless? Let's see what happens if the Mets continue on this torrid pace and somehow do get over 500. Now they're 3 games under 500, so they just still haven't gotten there, but they're on their way there. And then let's say they are solidly in a wild card spot. Then we're going to find out how ruthless everybody is. But I don't think the owner is going to allow him then to trade away assets if they are solidly in a wild card spot, because that's just going to look like crap to the fan base and the people that buy season tickets. They want playoff baseball, and the owner would be like, that would be suicide.
Yeah,
if you didn't go all in.
I know. I mean, and it depends. It really depends where they are and how they're playing, and so it's a tough discussion to have now. But I would, if there's one thing in New York sports, I'd want to know and look into the future and want to know, or just could find out today, be a fly on the wall somewhere, is how badly does David Stearns want to keep Pete Alonso? Because I'm sure he wants to keep him at a certain price in a certain term, but how badly does he? Like what is like?
Didn't they offer him like 6 years?
Right, he turned it down.
160 or whatever.
So I'm saying, like, this is what I want to know.
Yeah.
How much farther would they go than that?
If he goes for 40, 115, you got to keep him, right? Don't you? I mean, you're nuts if you don't. But then again,
how many years? Then how many? But here we go again. We got a guy in his 30s who is going to make all this money that someone might offer him 10 years, and you're gonna match that.
You can't match it 10 years. You can't.
I mean, okay. So then
give the money to Juan Soto. You
this
get
is
Juan
what I'm
Soto.
saying.
You got to get Juan Soto because Juan Soto's younger.
Yes, he certainly is.
Now is Juan Soto going to want to play for the Mets? He's on a legacy franchise. I keep hearing.
Is
it a legacy or is it money? Hey, let me tell you something, folks. It's money. It is definitely money. Now, I will say that Aaron Judge may have been able to extract more money from San Diego. I don't know. I don't know if they all offered him the same amount of money, but
he's been here since the beginning. This is just a 1 year situation with Soto.
But Soto's feeling the love from the fans.
Oh, yes, he is. And it's going to get even better as the season goes on.
But what does that? Does that mean? Is that worth something to him? I mean, and here's the argument that I hear all the time. How much money do you need? Well, you need more money. At the end of the day, the agent's job is to get him the biggest freaking contract that he could possibly get so the guys coming up behind him can eclipse him someday.
I also think that last year, the issue that Boris had in this offseason where he had egg all over his face, he went in too hard with too many players, and it was a really bad offseason for him, that he's got to make sure that Juan Soto gets the monster deal that everybody expects.
Do you think real quickly,
you think Barkley Goodrow's going to thrive in San Jose? Yeah, I do, actually. I think he's going to be out there and he's going to you know what? This place is not as bad as I thought.
That's not what I was going to ask you.
All right. Sorry.
See, you just – all right. I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
If you were a team and a guy was represented by Scott Boras, would you deal with Scott Boras?
If I had to, sure. If I wanted that player desperately and I thought there was a franchise-changing player, if I had to, yes.
If Scott Boras would just keep his mouth shut publicly,
yeah,
I think I would deal with him. But the moment he opens his mouth and starts talking about crazy crap, all these players that got screwed this past year, I think in large part are due to his public comments in regards to their contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I would deal with him when it comes to players like Juan Soto. I would not deal with him with the middling player that he is trying to pump up to the point where
Pete Alonso?
It's embarrassing. No, Pete Alonso, he's in between that. You know what I'm saying? He's in between.
Now we got a little in-between spot.
Well, he's not a middling player, and he's not Juan Soto. Is anybody going to disagree with that? I mean, he's not Juan Soto, and he's certainly not a bum. He's somewhere in between, and he's in his 30s now. which is not exactly
Wow.
the place you get paid unless you're Aaron Judge coming off a 62 home run season.